The topic starting off with is that of the recent disclosure of everybody's, I guess that includes you and me, Social Security being hacked.
Right.
How accurate is that?
It's probably relatively accurate. There's a good chance that any services that you sign up for, anything that you do online, your information is there. Anybody that's got your Social Security number, there's a chance that they're going to get breached, and the hackers are gotten pretty good at getting into those systems and accessing that information, pulling it out.
Okay, what does this mean? How do we secure our identity in these instances?
So the first thing you want to do, anytime that you get notified that you've been breached, it's a legal requirement. So if a company, if you've been breached, if they've been breached, then your information is included in that. They're required to notify you about that.
Okay, they notify me.
Right. One thing you want to make sure is that you don't fall into the new scams, which are people preying on that, on people being afraid about that. And if you get notified and they say, here, click here to make sure you're not, you want to make sure that the breach is accurate, that the company that's contacting you is legit, and that you're not actually, falling prey to something where you're going to provide information and cause it to be breached if it's not.
All right. Again, we're talking with Stefan Hellersperk and with ACS Computer Services, and we're going to talk about what I do if I fall for a scam. I think they call it phishing.
Right.
But before I do, and obviously the obvious answer is first to call you, but before I even get into that, why is it that, and what should we do not to fall for these to begin with? In many instances, I know that you would prefer being able to deal with issues of security in advance. But unfortunately, I'm confident you're finding instances where you're dealing with security breaches
right.
post.
Right.
Which means the horses, one horse or all of the horses are already out of the barn.
Right.
What you're doing is closing the barn door so more horses don't escape or more intrigues.
Yeah. One thing to remember is really, while it sounds ominous that your Social Security number is out there, it's not imminent that you deal with it in the minute that you're getting that phone call from somebody.
Okay.
So there's nothing to say, hey, what company are you with? Document all that information, and then stop and do a little research, or stop and get in contact with somebody that can research to make sure.
But that every one of those scams, I get them all the time. If you don't answer in 30 minutes,
right,
the world's going to come to the end. The sun's going to go dark, whatever.
Right, but if your social's compromised, it's compromised.
Okay.
So whether you deal with it then or an hour from then or a day from then, it's not really going to make a difference. But if it's not compromised and you act too quickly, then you might compromise yourself.
Okay. So what Stefan is saying is pause.
Right.
Hit the pause button. Is there a pause button on my computer? Hit the pause button, right?
Right.
Take a breather and
document. And it's probably, and something that you can do now is identify a resource that can be information for you to contact that can help you verify those, whether it's a family member that's good with computers, or a company that does your computer work that can say, yeah, we've heard of these. Yes, we know about this breach. This is accurate.
A lot of instances, people go to the sheriff's department, and of course, not to demean the sheriff, or police departments, the sheriff's office, not department, sheriff's office, or police departments.
Very little they can do.
There's not much they can do.
Right.
And that is, that is just not in their scope of knowledge and experience.
Right. Or even jurisdiction.
Good point. Okay, I think that's important, because so often we say, well, I'm going to call the sheriff, or I'm going to call the police. Wonderful. But it's not going to accomplish anything.
Right.
All right. Real quickly, before I go, because I want to go to this topic of what do you do when a company compromises your data. And, well, this leads to that. If my data has been compromised, what should I do? And particularly You said earlier, if a company finds itself it's been breached, it needs to notify its customers.
Right. Legally required.
Legally required.
Right.
Okay. So a company gets breached. Obviously, you're going to step in. I call ACS Computer Services. You're going to step in. Again, the barn door was open, so I've lost whatever horses I had
Right.
in the stable.
Right.
That information is out there.
Yeah. So the action is going to depend on what was compromised. So
Okay.
was it bank account information? Was it driver's license information? Was it social security number? Obviously you want to protect the assets that you have in place. So if you feel that banking information was compromised, then passwords need to be changed, two-factor authentication put on so that only you can access those accounts. And then if it's social security number, then you want to make sure that you're monitoring your credit reports. And most of these breaches, they give you free access, so you can run your credit for free. You might get an Experian or one of the other credit reporting agencies might give you a free subscription for a year that's paid for by the company that's been breached.
Okay.
So that you can monitor your social, make sure that nothing is hitting your social security, your social security number as far as new credit inquiries that maybe you didn't authorize. And then most of those offer like a better subscription, which is always a good idea, where you can lock your credit down. So the credit is locked. Nobody can run it. So if you want to go buy a car, you go to the company, you log into the web, or you use their app and you unlock your credit so that it's runnable.
Okay.
And then once they're done running it, you lock it again so nobody else can run your credit.
Okay. In your capacity, you of course are dealing predominantly with companies.
Right.
What are you seeing right now in it? It's interesting with all the communications out there, all the by the way, you have your very own newsletter, the Tech Chronicle.
Right.
I'm looking at insider tips to make your business run faster, easier, and more profitable. I like that. Profit's a nice word.
Yeah, profit's good for a business.
Nice, yeah, profits are very good for business. But what are you seeing? Do businesses, are they cavalier about this still, or?
I think there's still, there's companies out there that think we're too small. We're not, we're small potatoes. Nobody's
interested in us.
Nobody's interested in us. And it's no longer the case. It maybe used to be, maybe 10 years ago, that was the case because the hacking was more complex. Now it's gotten easier.
Because of AI?
Because, well, AI might have some stuff to do with it. A lot of it is, the programs are available very widely now that they're basically hacking programs. You add it to your cart in the dark web. I want to hack. I want to grab serial numbers. I want to grab social security numbers. You can load it on an old computer, crank it up, and it just goes out and finds that stuff. So the complexity is so low that any target is attainable, no matter how small it is.
What you're telling me then is system security, particularly for companies, but in general, system security is key.
System security and education. I think education of both your upper level staff and your employees, because right now the biggest security gap that I've seen in most companies is the person that's behind your computer systems, where the employee they don't realize that something is bad, or they might they're going to places on the internet where they shouldn't.
Right.
And something pops up on the computer that says, "Hey, you're infected. Click here quick before you lose
exactly.
your data."
That's my point. They will do that. The flashing,
right? Exactly.
Light,
flashing and the noise and all
the
that
noise
stuff,
and
right?
And you have been hacked.
Right. Don't turn us off, or you'll lose all your data. So yeah, it's a lot of it is educational.
And it's happened to me once, and maybe foolishly I said enough. I pulled the plug.
That's what we'll tell you to do.
Okay.
Pull the plug or pull the network. At least disconnect the network cord. That way, if they are in there, they can't communicate anymore. But,
That's true too.
But pulling the plug is usually what we would do. Or if we have remote access, a lot of times we can shut it down remotely.
Okay.
And then just reboot the computer and launch the internet. If it comes back, then we know there's something there, and if it doesn't, then you're okay. It was just something you clicked on.
We're again talking with Stefan Hellersperk and with ACS Computer Services. And by the way, the website ACSIT for Internet Technology, ACSIT.biz. ACSIT.biz. Stefan, I know that there's been concern about utilizing even off-the-shelf security systems. One of the joys from my perspective, is I know the source when I'm talking to you.
Right.
I'm looking at you eyeball to eyeball. I don't know the source for something that was sent to me on the internet.
Exactly.
And on top of that, and I know now that they're not using thumb drives; they're using really you log on and subscribe on the internet.
Right.
Here's my problem with that. If I have a bug in my computer, my subscription is in essence possibly corruptible too.
It could be, yeah. Yeah, that's why most of the security stuff that we put on is monitored by us. So we'll get alerts if it finds things.
Well, a good example of that was the situation with Delta and I'm trying to think the name of the company.
Oh yeah, I know what you're thinking. I can't.
But with
the crowdsource.
Crowdsource. And it shut Delta down for a week.
And that was really just security software that they did a unverified update and broke a lot of computers.
A lot of people think, okay, here I am, I'm comfortable, I'm going to do this, so I'm going to buy a subscription.
Right.
The problem is the subscription may or may not fit neatly with the existing software I've got on my system.
What we find with a lot of off-the-shelf software is there's too much. They try to make it look like you're getting so much, and it either locks you down too much where things don't happen that you need to happen, or you just have a lot of junk in there that you don't need, and it slows your computer down.
Okay. Again, ACSIT.biz. I want to thank Stefan for being with us this afternoon. Stefan, before we go, over the past month, we mentioned crowdsource a few moments ago. The most recent concern and headline, everybody but yours and my Social Security number have been hacked.
Right.
The reason is we're friends, so we knew how to avoid it. No, but you're seeing these new disclosures. Is that an indication that either the hackers are they are themselves being innovative, or is it a matter now of just they've been looking at this for a while, they've just found new ways to interfere?
Yeah, I think they're very, very innovative. They're getting better at what they're doing, and also I think a lot of it is we're getting more and more interconnected as you go along. So now your fridge and your doorbell and everything is online, and it's as you get more interconnected, there's more information out there, and there's more systems available for them to try to hack and find that information.
As we wrap it up, any word of wisdom you'd like to pass along to the audience, that because you bring up a very good point. It's called OTT, over the top, am I?
Right. Yeah.
Everything. The refrigerator, the doorbell.
The doorbells, all that. Increased security, two-factor authentication, it's all a pain, but being compromised and losing your information is a whole lot more of a pain. So my advice would be, if an account, when you sign up, offers you to do two-factor authentication, while you know it's going to be a pain to have to pull out that code, that extra code, or whatever it might be, the text to your phone, do that two-factor authentication on any account that has any kind of information that could compromise you down the road. And that gives you an extra level of protection that they can't, if they know your social and they know your name and they know your password, but they don't have access to that phone that's going to get that code.
ACSIT.biz. And again, Stefan, thanks very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
This is great.